day, ladies and gentlemen. I am Edeh Chidera, also known as Zeus. I am the treasurer of Enugu State Medical Students Association, popularly known as ESUMSA. I am glad to welcome you to the second edition of the online webinar series called Global MedPathways with Zeus. I know most of you here are hoping to expand your medical expertise beyond the borders of Nigeria, but you have not the necessary knowledge needed to achieve this. But I can assure you that you are in the right place, and just like the very first session where we took the UK and Saudi pathway, you will also be wiser with more insights after the session. But I am going to, before we start anything, I'm going to introduce you to Dr. Zona Uzoigwe, who is also a medical doctor in the United States of America, popularly known as Dr. Strange. He was also a medical student in ESUMSA, where he graduated in 2019. All right, sir. How are you doing today, sir?
You said I'm popularly known as Dr. Strange.
Yes, so.
I don't know what I'm popularly known as though, but I guess Zona, most people know me with my first name Zona. But whichever way, Dr. Strange, whatever, it doesn't really matter. I'm happy to be here. And I'm hearing that we have people from like outside ESUCOM, and also some people from ESUCOM, which is actually good. And I usually like having like this kind of stuff. I've done a couple with maybe house officers back in Nigeria and like some other medical doctors. But doing this to medical students, I think is also important too, because unlike other pathways, this particular pathway, which is the US pathway, is a pathway that the earlier you start when you're done with medical school, the better. Younger graduates,
yes, sir,
have better chances than older graduates. So I think it's a good idea, targeting people that are still in medical school. So they have a plan, like that once you're done with medical school, you should be deciding what pathway you want to follow. Do you want to go to Saudi, UK, or US? And if it is US, then you want to start preparing for the exams as soon as possible. So I guess we'll start with going through a couple of things. I think I have some sort of outline to help me, streamline like how to go straight to stuff. I don't know how long we have, but hopefully we'll be able to go through a lot of questions. And then I think what we'll do is when we're done with everything, then you can all like show your questions, and then I can maybe answer a good number of them. So where do we start? Let's start.
Okay, let me lead you on, sir.
Okay. All right, now do your thing.
All right. So the students, in the normal way, is that they will send their questions to me on my direct message. Then I will read them out to you. Okay. All right. Well, we already have the ones we're going to use generally, and I think most of them will ask their questions based on that or based on anything they want to know. All right, sir. Okay. So we just wanted to know, though, you said that your biography, you studied in Parkland. I wanted to know what led you to medicine and why Parkland in particular.
Okay, so my story started all the way from UNN actually. I didn't start with medicine. I started with biochemistry in UNN. So I came into Parkland as a direct entry student, finished UNN, applied to do like a direct entry. I think I applied to a couple of universities for direct entry, including, I don't think I applied to UNN, I don't know why. But I think the main reason why I chose Parkland was my elder brother was already in Parkland. So it I've already seen what the whole Parkland life was like, and I liked it. The housing situation, like the hostels and stuff, looked like something that was conducive. 1, 2, family house was like close to. So it was kind of convenient for me. So I just, went ahead with Parkland. So that was how I came to Parkland. Medical school wise, even prior to doing biochemistry in UNN, it was medical school that I actually wanted to go to. You know how it is now. You write to UNN, Christian, and then you end up getting a different course.
Yes, sir. Honestly.
Yeah. So that was how I ended up in biochemistry. I tried to switch. It didn't work out, but at the end of the day, well, we're good.
We always end up fine. I mean,
Yeah.
the end goal is to be a doctor, right?
The end goal, yeah. Whichever pathway it takes.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
But then again, though, like you ended up in Parkland, and you are doing well for yourself. But what was Parkland like that time? Like, what was the experience in Parkland like back in those days?
Parkland was interesting. I really like. I think I enjoyed Parkland. I actually do miss Parkland from time to time, because initially I was there when the first prior to when Professor Ogochukwu was the provost. So there was a period where Parkland was more, open. We didn't have all those gates you guys have now. We didn't have those gates then. It was more free, and it was less regulated. It was still fun then, but it was less organized. So I was there when Parkland was not so organized, and I was still there when Professor Ogochukwu, even though a lot of people had like a lot of problems, controversies, the way he did things, but he kind of streamlined things and made things organized, which I think was fantastic. So Parkland was a really good experience because I felt everything was close by. You want to go for postings are happening right there in the same vicinity. Lectures are happening right in the same vicinity. You want to go out and buy stuff, or maybe go out and flex, it's still the same area. So to be frank, Parkland was highlights for me, man. I enjoyed my time in Parkland.
Honestly, I don't know whether what I'm doing here is enjoyment though. But
I hope Parkland is still fun though. I hope things have not gone south.
I'm managing as usual.
Alright. Do you guys still have like?
All right.
Do you guys still have like on like before?
Sorry, I don't hear you, sir.
Do you guys still have uninterrupted light like before? Because we used to have like 247 back then in Parkland.
Back then, I think back then was Sullivan Chambers government, right? So we're not really getting to how the politics is nowadays.
No, it was Buruburu's government. It was Buruburu's government. When did I finish? I did induction 2020. So it's not been long I finished from Parkland.
Yeah. The light is iffy nowadays, but it's still manageable. And if it freezes at stays cold. So, okay. What about the house job? How was the house job like?
Okay, so I did my house job in UNTH. House job was good. Even though we had like a lot of delay because it was COVID period, we had delay to start house job. So it kind of helped me somehow because I think we finished our final MB very end of 2019, and then 2020. From that time, I already knew. Like when I finished, like I was saying earlier on, you have to know what pathway you want to follow when you are finishing with medical school. Now, I already heard before finishing with medical school that if you want to go to the US, you need to start applying for residency with a short year of graduation, which means that you want to be within a few years of graduation when you're applying for residency here in the US. So I already got the info that I needed to start preparing for my step 1, step 2 exams early enough. So immediately I was done with my final year, I started preparing for my step 1. So during that COVID period was when I was studying. Everybody was on lockdown, but I was busy studying then. So I kind of stayed almost 1 year. I kind of stayed till October before I started my house job. So by that time, I'd already gone find my preparation for step 1. So I did my step 1 exam even before I started my house job. It doesn't have to be the same. One thing about the USMLE pathway is everybody's story is different. I have people that graduated. I have a colleague of mine that graduated from medical from UNN in 2009. So some people are old graduates, but they still get into residency. But it's easier for people that have fewer years post-graduation. So house job, when I finished step 1, I started house job. Some people in house job were like, you've written USMLE. Some people were interested. Some of my chiefs wanted to, write the exam. They had to collect materials. It was UNTH. It was good though because but it was a little stressful because I was trying to combine house job and preparing for my USMLE step 2. So most of the time, like I wasn't really involved in like social life like that when it came to house job. When they were having like social gatherings or going out, I usually don't because I would want to stay back up for step 2. But all in all, I think it was also a good experience. It was fun. It was somewhat annoying to an extent, now, because in Nigeria being a house officer, there's a lot of resources that are lacking and a lot of things that you have to, try and do. But in all, I think it was good.
Okay. Yeah. You said it was annoying though. Like, were there moments that made you feel that you can't actually stay here? Like, it's actually a good thing that you're already ready to even leave and you're not even turning back, you're leaving.
Were there things? Well, the truth is definitely like if you're practicing, there will be times when you'll be thinking, "Are you sure staying here is a good idea?" Some situations would be, let me say, in a situation where you are working maybe in the emergency, and then you have patients coming, and then you maybe want to just the basic stuff like put an IV access, like normal saline, and then you go to the pharmacy and they are saying things like, "We don't have gloves," or "We have like few gloves." They have like few gloves. They can't give carton of gloves. They're giving they're counting like 10 gloves. And then it's crazy because you have to maybe see the patient do one or two things and then the gloves has finished. So being a house officer in UNTH, there had to be times where you'd have to borrow things from other patients. Like I was the kind of guy that I'm somebody that can be very jovial. So I would always go to the next patient, or so maybe I'm seeing 5 patients in the ED. I can always go to the next one. I know where the supply. This person maybe has more of cannula. This person has more of gloves. I find a way to combine. Go here, please. Can I borrow gloves from you? Be like, no problem, doc. I'll borrow gloves. Do what I need to do, because these things are difficult. And then sometimes you get some patients too that don't have the money. So buying the basic stuff that they need to buy for you to do the basic things you need to do as a house officer, you find that they don't have the money. So sometimes you still have to maybe take small money and just buy basic things, because the cannula, normal saline, all those things are not so expensive. You can maybe just use your money, just pick one or two things and just set, so that at least you maintain the homeostasis with the fluid now. Then we now know what that is.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's actually very, very true.
Yeah. So there's a lot.
I don't know.
So continue.
Okay. People have always said this, even us that are doing postings, we see them. But coming from me, it's crazy that, what the doctor himself experiences, I have to actually borrow things from patients to help other patients.
Yeah.
Well. Okay.
It is what it is, man. It is what it is. I was doing it. I wasn't really complaining. Well, that's me though. I hardly complain per se. So, but you don't be as you be, man.
I swear. Well, okay. We're going to start with the experience that made you to now leave. But it seems like, as you didn't actually end up doing the residency, did it have to do with you already being done with the exam? Like you're already ready after the exam?
Sorry, can you come again? I didn't get the question.
I said that, when you sent me your briefing about your background, you didn't do your residency program. No. Did it have to do with you already being done?
Well, I was already done with the exams by then. By the time I finished my house job, a month after I finished my house job, I wrote my step 2. So in that year, I was already done with my exams at that point in time. So there was really no point me doing any residency or anything, or going to write primaries, because I didn't even write primaries. So the thing is, it depends. Like I said, everybody's story is not the same. It depends on when you decided to start chasing the USMLE. Some people decide to start chasing. So I know people that had written their part 1 in residency before they decided to start writing. So their own story is definitely going to be different because they'll be coming with an experience that they've done residency in their home country before coming to the US. And there are some programs here in residency that would appreciate people that have an experience in a similar residency that are coming to apply here in the US. It depends. So like I said, everybody's story is not the same, but usually there will be a residency program here that would fit the kind of experience that you're coming with. Do you get? So for me, if I decided to maybe do the whole thing, maybe later on, let's say when I finished house job, I hadn't maybe done step 1. Definitely, I would maybe be thinking of maybe doing residency, at least to have money now for me to use and apply. Do you get? Or maybe have like a different thing, or maybe keep the experience alive as I'm trying to apply or read for the exam. So it all depends. So I think I would agree with you in the sense that my exams were already there, already down by the time I finished my house job. So there was, really no point doing residency.
Okay. Well, when did you actually start planning for the USA pathway?
Final year.
So final year, like you already had it in your mind, US or not?
Final year, I already had in my mind that in final year, from my 5th year, from my PEDS year, I'd already had the idea that I don't really know whether it's UK pathway, it's US pathway. So that's the reason why what you're doing right now is something I like. While in school, you're supposed to have started hearing about all the disadvantages, and try to understand what you are facing and what you are trying to achieve. So in 5th year, we had I think I had a talk. There was somebody that came and gave us a talk in Parkland then from the UK, told us about other opportunities and stuff like that. I didn't really get the opportunity to get somebody from the US giving me a talk or anything. But I just heard 1 or 2 things, and I went online and saw 1 or 2 things. So as of 5th year, I was still weighing my options. As of final year, I already in final year, I concluded that, you know what, I'm just going to do the US pathway. And immediately I was doing my final year. Next, a month from then, I already got the book for step 1 and I started studying. And everybody was thinking, this guy is crazy.
Well, look at you now. You made that the fastest. You made it there the fastest.
There's no rush, there's no competition. Everybody's going to get where they want to get to at the end of it. But it's always good to plan. You decide on time what you want to do. So.
Okay, so take us through something here. Okay. Now, if I'm to say I'm in 5th year now, yeah, and I want to get into US, I want to go to US.
Okay.
What do I do? Where do I start from?
Okay. Now,
yes.
Where you want to start from is first is if you are deciding you want to come to the US, that is the number 1 thing. You say, okay, yes or no, yes. Second thing is, what specialty do I think I want to apply for as for residency in the US? That would be the second thing you would have in mind. Now, aside that, you have those 2 things in mind. Specialty might change because as of 50, you might not have really decided. So specialties might you are planning for might change, but just keep it on the side. Now, at that point, you want to be able to get your name on as much research or publications as you can. What do I mean? What I mean is, if you have senior registrars, lecturers, or people working on a research or publications that they might want to actually get out there, you want to be the kind of person that would want to at least contribute to any research you can possibly contribute to, so that when it is published, you can have your name on it. So that is what I feel a student at that point in time can do. 1. 2 is you also want to, as soon as possible, if you can, have your LinkedIn profile, have start getting yourself prepared for getting out there professionally. Start connecting with people that are already where you want to be. This one is general for any pathway. That place you want to be, you want to have at least one person or two people that, let me say, are mentors in that place you want to be. If you can get somebody in that specialty in the place you want to be, better. So that at least the person can also guide you and say, okay, you can do this for now. So these are the things you can do for now. There are people that write their USMLE while they are medical students. I've seen people do that. I've seen people finish their second MD and third MD and do their step 1. There's somebody I know that's applying now, but it's not the school is not in the east. The school is somewhere in the north. When I was waiting for step 1, he had just finished, I think, his 40 in medical school. Now he finished medical school this year and is applying this year. So some people start writing it. You don't necessarily need to be a graduate for medical school to write step 1. You just have to be in a medical school to write step 1. So if you are somebody that feels that you can start preparing for step 1 and you write it as an undergraduate, fine. You can do that. Step 2 is clinicals. You can also do your step 2 when you are done with, because step 2 is basically medicine, surgery, O&G, pediatrics, psychiatry. That is what step 2 is. That's clinical. So if you're done with your clinical postings and whatever it is you're doing in clinics, in final year you can also write your step 2 if you want to, which I know people that have done it. So that is, what I feel as an undergraduate. These are the possibilities you have as an undergraduate if you want to start chasing that goal. Then one other thing I forgot to add: finance. For example, if you're a medical student or a student, there might be situations where money enters your hand from where anywhere. Maybe somebody that's you money, or maybe you're on a scholarship and you are getting money. Because you know that the USMLE pathway can be capital intensive, you can start gathering money at that time. That is another very important plan. Gathering money at that time. Any money you have, you can always change it to the currency of whatever you are applying to. If it is the UK where you are going, you want to change the currency to the UK because that you make the payments in pounds. If it is the USMLE pathway that you are following, you want to change the money to dollars and keep, so it doesn't depreciate. So finance is another big thing you have to be planning for on time. The earlier you start planning for it, the better. So these are the things that I can say as a student that you can do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned something about the USMLE, and there's part 1 and part 2. Can you take us through that part 1, the curriculum first?
Okay. So to get certified to apply for a residency in the US, there are 2 exams. There are 2 major medical exams you have to write and 1 English exam. Usually in the past, there were 3 medical exams. But since the past is the past and we want the past to remain in the past, let's focus on what's happening now. So there are 2 medical exams and 1 English exam. Now, the 2 medical exams are, the first one is the USMLE Step 1. Now, the USMLE Step 1 is basic price of. So, thank God I don't have the book here, so I'll show you guys. It's basically comprised of biochemistry courses and your third MD courses. So, you have your physiology and pathology and pharmacology. Then biostatistics, and that's biostatistics with some public health variations in it, and then psychiatry. These are the things you need for step 1. So this is the book. This is what the book looks like. This is a 2020. This is a 2021 version. So every year they bring out like a new version of the book. So everything, basically, all the things I mentioned are contained in this book. So usually you're supposed to know this book like inside out. So that's That's basically.
Look at the book. You're like, you should know this book inside out.
Calm down. Well, it's just one book now. It's just one book. But the book is, I don't know, like what you guys use for anatomy, but you know the way you have last anatomy in second MP is
That's one we use.
Like it's compact. It's as if last anatomy is as if they compressed things into a book. That's the way this book is. So these are compressed. You read this book, but this won't be the only thing you read, because if you read only this thing, you see material cramming. So you need like other educational videos to help you as you're reading the book, and other question banks and stuff like that. So, but that's what you need. I'll just give an overview first, then I can go into the separate stuff. Now, after you are done with step 1, which from a medical school here in the US, they do a pre-med, which is an undergraduate course, and then finish college, and then go along to do medicine. And their medicine is 4 years. So after the first 2 years, which is their preclinicals, their second 2 years is clinicals. So after you are done with third year and fourth year, those things that you do in third year and fourth year mainly are what you need for step 1. Then when you are done with step 1, your step 1 exam, you can now start studying for step 2. Is called USMLE step 2 CK. CK just means clinical knowledge. So it's basic. The way they write the exam is similar to that of step 1. Step 1 is, sorry, let me step back a little bit. Step 1 is an 8-hour exam that you write in the closest place to write it. There are different centers all over. Here is in Ghana, Accra, Ghana. I think there used to be a center before in Nigeria, from what I heard, but I don't know what happened, man. And they closed, and that one closed. But is where you can possibly write the exam here in Nigeria. It's an 8-hour exam, just is like MCQ questions. Now, step 2 is also MCQ questions, and it's most likely going to be something, if you're in Nigeria, you also want to write in Ghana. That one is a 9-hour exam. Now, the clinical knowledge, that's the step 2 CK, is basically comprised of everything you do in clinicals, which is under, you have mentioned it already, pediatrics, surgery, internal medicine, OBGYN, that's O&G, and then psychiatry. Is there any other one I'm missing? I don't think so, but these are basically what you do. That's basically everything clinical. That's for your CK. Now, after step 2 CK, there's one other thing you need, which is called the OET. OET is an English exam, basically meaning occupational English test. Now, it's an English test that tests you on English pertaining your occupation. So, nurses have their own OET and doctors have their own OET. The center where you can possibly write that is in Lagos. There's a center in Lagos for writing OET. I think they write it maybe 2 times a month or so. So, if you write that OET and pass, with OET step 1 and step 2, you can now apply for what we call ECFMG certification. It's a certificate that puts you at par with a medical graduate in the US. So after these exams, you apply for ECFMG certification, which puts you at par with somebody here in the US that finished medical school from here. With that, you can now apply for residency. So that is the way it is. That is just the overview. It's not like that rigid, but that is just some sort of an overview. Then when you apply for residency, you go through what we call the match. So you apply for residency. Residency is applied for every year. So every September of every year, application for residency across all the specialties will start. After applying, from October, November, December, you start waiting for interview invites from different hospitals for different residencies. So presently now, I have a lot of friends of mine that applied this year, applied this September. Some of them have gotten interviews for different programs. Some of them are basically doing interviews now. So they do interviews from October, November, December, January. In February, you do what we call all the places that interviewed you, you do what we call a rank list, which means you submit a list where you rank your best hospitals to the list place you want to get into. And then you submit. And then a March of the following year, a list comes out for people that have gotten into a program in the US and where they got into. It's called the match. It's something that maybe if you follow on Twitter, you probably see it every year. Like the match, people say, I matched, I this, I that, people are celebrating and stuff like that. So every match that lasts from September to March of the following year. So the people that are going to start their residency next year in July have submitted application now in September and March by March of next year and start work July of that year. So that is the whole process of the entire thing. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you have spoken very well, sir. Yes. So, okay, let's just take you one more step by step. Okay. USMLE. How difficult is it, and what's the cutoff mark? Is there a cutoff mark for it?
Okay. So, I'll start with step 1, and then you can ask questions you want about step 1. So, for step 1, difficulty. Well, objectively, let me go from an objective point of view. Objectively, I think the USMLE is ranked as the top 5, maybe most difficult exams in the world, and that's what I think. What I've seen some places online, that's what I've seen. That's objectively what I think they did in terms of research. But subjectively, that's my own point of view. The USMLE is tasking. Like I would say that it's tasking, but it's not an exam it's an exam that I think that anybody that went through medical school in Nigeria and came out can pass. The only thing it just takes is just time for you. You need to bring out time and you have to make sacrifices to be able to sit down and study hours on hours on hours. You have to put in a lot of work to make it happen. You have to have study. What I normally tell people is, if you want to do the USMLE, just sit down and think in medical school, where was the time where I think I really did my best in terms of study? What did I make use of? Did I need a group? Did I need to study on my own? When do I study the best? Then think of that and just apply that and bring out good number of hours every single day and study your butt off. If you are somebody that does well in groups, join a group. If you are somebody that does well on your own or a combination, you can do both. It's very tasking, but I believe that anybody that did medical school in Nigeria and came out should be able to write the USMLE.
Especially in ESUCOM, where there are people here. the malignancy. But don't worry, me, I am still in medical school, so I will not say much.
Don't say much, boys. I'm not gonna. I don't tell you when you come. My hand is.
Okay, well, let's talk money now. All right. The USMLE, what's the price?
Sorry, I didn't say cutoff. The cutoff for the USMLE, the cutoff was the exam actually is over 300. And then the cutoff, I think the pass mark is 198 is the pass mark. Usually before, they would give you a 3-digit score. Usually over 300. But as of 2 years ago, step 1 changed and now started doing pass or fail. So step 1 now is either once you finish the exam, they will tell you your result to be pass or fail. Do you get? So when I did my own step 1, they used to do the whole 3-digit score. They'll give you a score over 300, but you have to pass 198 for you to pass. So that's basically what the step 1 is now. Step 2 still has score. So step 2, you still have to have a score, which is over 300, but usually that 300 is just for there 3 for being there sick. They actually give scores based on percentile. So you write an exam and then they give a particular percentile. With the percentile of the number of questions you got right, they will be able to fix a 3D score to it. I don't really know how they do it. Usually people score as high as 270s, which is in the 99th percentile. And people can, I think the pass mark is 214 for step 2. I'm not really sure, but it's 2 something. I think it's up to 214, 213 for step 2. So that is what it is in that manner. So you can go ahead. I forgot about that.
All right. The price. What's the money that someone is meant to budget for step 1?
So for step 1, the exam itself is, I'll round it up to $1,200 for for the exam for step 1. Now, there are other things you need to prepare for the exam. Like, if you want to buy this textbook that I showed you guys, has a soft copy. Now, if you're somebody that studies well with a soft copy, you can have a soft copy on your phone. That one you can download it free of charge. That one is nothing. If you want to buy the hard copy, you have to buy the book. I think when I bought the book in my own time, it was around 40k in Naira. I don't know how much it is now. So you can bring money, you can use money and buy it. But this will basically be the only hard copy book you might most likely buy. Every other thing you would need would be videos, which I think you can copy from other people preparing for the exam. There are some lecture videos that you can get that will also help you in learning whatever concepts that are in this book. Then there's something we call the UWorld. UWorld is like a question bank that you want to get your hands on for a good number of months before you write the exam. Because the question bank is kind of is similar to the kind of questions you see in the exam. Now, subscription for that one, I'm breaking up the question bank is expensive. Subscription for the question bank for 6 months is around 430. That's the subscription for the question bank. Now, there are certain ways you can cut corners in that one. You can have a group, but you would want a group that works as much as you do, that can come together and donate money, bring money together and subscribe and be doing it together. If people do that, if you have a group that you can come together and study it and you can bring money together if you want to do that. But most people want to have their own question back because you don't want somebody pulling you back as you're doing your stuff. So at minimum, you might want to keep money for the exam, which is about 1,002 USD. Money for the bank, question bank, that's about 439 USD. And then you also put money for expenses to travel to Ghana. Because you travel now. If it's flight that you fly, fine. If it's bus that you take, take bus. You can take bus from.
Yes, sir.
Take bus to Accra if you want. But you have to do that there. You also have to lodge when you get to Accra. You have to put in all those small expenses. So that is what that's what it requires for you to do step 1. Then I think there's an amount you pay when you're registering before you register for step 1. When you are doing your ECFM certification, where they have to contact your school to be sure that you are actually a student in that school. I think you have to pay $160. There are some small money dollars that you pay one place or one other place that you might also require. So if you are planning, put miscellaneous. That's also what I can say. So there are some little money. I think the most of that small cash you pay somewhere and some 2 places. I think is the one where you pay $160 for like ECFMG verification. But aside that, these 2 things that I already mentioned are the 2 main bulk of the cash. Step 2 is a replica. Step 2 is basically the same amount that you still pay for the exam, and it's still the same amount for the question bank. So whatever it is that I mentioned for step 1, just put the same thing again for step 2. So that's the amount you have to spend for that. Then for OET, I've forgotten how much OET is. I think it's around it might be around $500. I'm not sure how much OET is. You can always maybe check it on Google. You can just Google it, how much is OET, or ask people that around. Some people that do the UK route also prepare for OET. So OET info is not something that is hard to find. So yeah, it is what it is. Then the ECFMG certification. That one is also another money again. For you to apply for ESFMG certification, that's $950, I think, for the certification. And then for you to apply for the residency itself, you have to pay money to apply to each program. And if you're applying to about 100 programs all over the US, maybe 100 hospitals, you're applying to about 100 hospitals over the US, that would cost you about $2,400. You mustn't apply to up to 100. It depends on how you want to apply. Some people want to apply to many places as possible. Some people can want to apply to many. So applying for a number of hospitals depends on the amount of money you want to apply. So you apply as much as your money can carry. So, is there any other expenses? Yeah, for this is the this is the barest minimum for the expenses you can make for the USMLE. Some people make more. People that maybe want to get research, want to travel to the US for research or rotation. There are a lot of things you can spend money on when it comes to the USMLE. But these things I mentioned are basically the basic. This is just the basic thing you can spend for the USMLE. So, yeah.
Okay. I have a few more questions about this step one aspect of this. That's money that you said that they pay for them to clarify with your school that you attended the school. What's that money for exactly? What's the name of that thing?
To be frank, I think it's FMG verification. I think. There's a name they call it. I'm not really sure anymore because I did my own in 2020. It's been long I did mine, so I'm not sure anymore. But I think it's FMG verification. They have to contact your school, and your school has to reply them, and it's one of the first money you have to pay. So
okay,
yeah.
So now that ECFMG, what's it for?
ECFMG is what's the full meaning again? Something foreign, EC certification, medical graduate, whatever. But what basically it is in basic term is ECFMG stands as the dean for everybody that's schooled outside of US. So if you check the full meaning of ECFMG, it's for foreign medical graduates. The FMG is foreign medical graduates. So it's like an organization that's there to serve as a meeting point, or should I say to serve as a third party between your medical school and the hospitals you're applying. So instead of your hospital when you apply to go and start saying, let's start your medical school and know what this person needs in medical school and what this person is qualified. ECFMG takes care of all that and gives you a certificate that will show the hospital you're applying to that this person has qualified for anything that needs to be qualified for. And the medical school is accredited. So they serve as the dean. They serve as the dean for foreign medical graduates. That's what ECFMG is. That is just what it is in layman terms. So
okay, now let's go into the part 2. What is the cutoff mark and the price?
Well, for part 2, we've talked about the price already. It's the same price for step 1 that is going to be for step 2. The amount for the exam is the same thing. The location for the exam, that's the center, it's the same thing. The cutoff is, I think, 214. It was 209 before, but they changed it last year to 210 or 213. I'm not really sure. It's not pass or fail. You have a score for step 2. So if you write the exam, there will be a score that you get that the hospitals you apply to would see those scores. So most times they use the score. You want to have as high a score as possible because most times they make use of the score to determine whether they're going to take you or not. They look at other things like research, when you finish for medical school, if it's to be sure it's like if it's not so long ago, it's better for them, and like other experiences you might have if you are somebody that finished a long time ago. And then they look at those things and look at your score and be able to decide what they're going to do. who they are going to take or who they are not going to take. So step 2 has a score, but step 1 doesn't.
Okay, so the curriculum now for step 2, like once you step into the hall, what are you expected to see in step 2? You said it's clinical knowledge.
Yeah, everything clinicals, everything you are doing in clinicals, everything you are doing from your 5th year to your final year in medical school in Nigeria is what you see in the clinicals. So,
okay.
Is the in 5th year is PEDS, O&G, you see some biostats from community medicine in step 2. Again, you see it in step 1, you see it in step 2. You see your medicine and surgery and psych. You see, all those things. Yeah, so you see it in step 2.
Okay. Is it same MCQ format?
Yeah, MCQ format is just an hour extra from step 1. So step 2 is 9 hours. Step 1 is 8 hours for the exam.
Wait, 8 hours. How many questions are these? I want to know.
For each hour. So for step 1 is 8 hours. Is an 8-hour exam. For each, you have 1 hour for break from the 8 hours. The other 7 hours, each hour you have 40 questions in a block. So one block is 1 hour, and one block is 40 questions. So, and then 1 hour break. What that 1 hour break, spread it anyhow you want. So there will be 1 hour break that will allocate to you. Anytime you want to take any few minutes from the 1 hour, it's your business. If you want to take it after the first 2 blocks, it's your problem. If you don't want to take the break, it's your problem. If you want to use the break and it finishes and you cannot go out again, it's a problem. So that is the way the exam is. In step 2, it's 9 hours. You have 1 hour break and 8 hours of active exam. Same thing, 1 hour for 40 questions. For each 40 questions.
So you can spread it out.
It's not going to come out. Yeah, the break, you can spread it out anyhow you want. Now, it's not going to come out in different subjects. It's just going to be mixed. So the questions just get thrown at you without telling you which course or which specialty is coming from. You just see a question and you just answer. So, because they believe that as a doctor, let me say if you're a doctor and maybe say you're just a general doctor and you're in the ED, you don't know who's going to come in. You don't know if it's going to be somebody with abdominal pain or cough of 3 weeks. You don't have an idea. So that's the ideology they have. So they throw the questions at you from anywhere. So that's the way.
What are they? Is it like a computer or physical paper or somebody asking?
It's computer. You come, they give you a paper for your password, you log in for the exam, and then you start doing it on the computer. So on the computer, when you log in, you see your timer, your total time, 8 hours. You see, they will separate it, total time, 8 hours. You see active time for the exam. You see 1 hour for break. Everything will be counting down. The active time for the exam will only count down when you enter into a block and solving the question. The active time for the exam will be counting down. So, but when you're out of every block, you see that your break time will start counting down. So it depends on how much break you want to take. Some people take break, come and go outside the center, maybe relax, go to the toilet, ease themselves. Some people might take break and just sit down in front of their computer and try to call on their God to come and help them because things are getting tough. So it depends on how you want to make use of the break.
Okay. Am I back? Sorry, are you still there?
Yeah.
Oh God, I think my network is glow paper and their problem. But I can't see you on video.
You can't see me on video?
Yeah.
Are you serious? Because I can see you and I can see my own self.
Okay, yes, I'm seeing you now. Anyway, sorry. So I stopped as timing. The timing stuff.
Yeah. So we that's basically what the timing is. We're done with the timing, unless there's something you want to ask about the timing.
Okay, so basically, yeah, as you're writing the exam, you have 8 hours. That's practically a whole day. So you come in, you sit down, time has started. You now press break, say you want to urinate at that moment, you cannot leave the hall. Other people are still writing.
Yeah. Everybody's still writing.
Wow.
So it depends on you on how you want to allocate your break. What it means, for instance, if it's an 8-hour exam and you have 1 hour break, and then you have 7 other blocks. After the first block, you can decide to take 5 minutes break if you want. Some people will go in and maybe write 2 blocks and take maybe a 10-hour or 15 minutes break, depending on how you want to do it. Some people go in and start with doing two blocks. They take maybe 10 minutes break, do another 2 blocks. Then towards the end, when they are tired, they will be doing maybe 1 block break. So it depends on how you want to organize your own. It depends on what you feel your strength is. We have, when you're preparing for the exam, we have mock exams we call MBMEs. MBMEs are like exams you can go online where you are in your room or wherever it is you are preparing for exam. You can decide to log into what we call an MBME and write what we call an exam. So it's it's an exam that has questions like USMLE, but they have, I think, normally come in as about 5 or 6 blocks that you can actually, do like a mock, so it looks like the exam. So you have a lot of time before the exam to prepare your mind on your best strategy to go into exam with. So that one is not a problem. When the time comes, you cross that bridge. Don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes. Okay. Now you have written the exams. You have passed. We thank God. Okay. What will you now do? Like, will you travel there and wait, or will you just keep on working? Can I keep applying from here? I'm confused. Like, I want to understand.
So it depends on what your plan is. Now, let's say you are done with the exam, for example, and the time for you to apply because application starts in September. Let's say you finish the exam, there's not going to time to apply. There are other things you would want to do. You want to do things that will improve your chances to match. Why? Because application for residency, people from different parts of the world. Think of any country you can think of. There are people from that country trying to apply to come to the US and practice. Any country you can think of. Since I've been here, I've heard of countries I didn't know they were the map. So the thing is, you want to do your best to increase your chances. So if there is research, if there's opportunity for research, you can still do research in that specialty. If you're doing in that specialty, you want to apply it, better for you. You can grab any research that is happening at that point in time. You can do that. If you feel you still need to be working and earning money because it does not cut into time where you apply or you've not mastered, you can always apply for residency in Nigeria and still be doing your thing. If you feel you have enough money, you want to come over to the US and maybe do a rotation. What it means, let me say you're applying for, I don't know, internal medicine or maybe pediatrics, whatever it is you're applying for. And you come to the US. You can come to the US to do a rotation in a hospital. So that you, in your application or in your CV, in your resume, you have that you did the rotation in so place in the US under so specialty. It will increase your chances. So you can also do that if you have the money to apply for coming to the rotation. You can also decide after doing step 2 that you want to do step 3. Step 3, there's something we call the USMLE step 3. USMLE step 3 is an exam that usually is supposed to be written after you started residency. So after you started residency, after your first year of residency, you're supposed to write what we call the USMLE step 3. Now, but because international medical graduates are trying to be more competitive and boost their CV, sometimes they go ahead to write USMLE step 3. Now, you cannot write USMLE step 3 unless you're in the US. So some people, just to increase their chances, might say, okay, let us come over to the US, write USMLE step 3 and do a rotation. Some people do it. So that's why I said when I was talking about the expenses you make for the exams, I was saying that is the barest minimum. So there are other things that you might want to do to increase your chances, that's build up your CV and your resume to be able to get more competitive. So these are the things you can do at that time while you're waiting. You can do master residency in Nigeria, in the specialty that you're applying to here in the US, just for the experience. So these are the things other things that you can do while you're waiting for application.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So these exams, as you're waiting, would there be a time where the exam will expire? Is there an expiration date for them?
To be frank, the USMLE exams hardly expire. I think I've never heard anybody say that the exam expired, but I think it should be possible. I think the step 1 takes, 7 years to expire. I'm not sure. And another thing is, one thing about the US, the reason why sometimes we're not sure of these things is that different states have different laws in the US. So a state might say 7 years, another state might say 10 years, or another state might say they don't care. It depends on the state. But usually it's not something you hear where people say my step 1 has expired. No, it's something that hardly happens. But I think I've seen in 1 or 2 places where people have mentioned 7 years or so for step 1. Step 2, I don't know. But I've never heard that somebody says that their step 1 is expired. But it wasn't. So, but it takes like a really long time for any of those exams to expire. OET, on the other hand, expires after 2 years. OET expires after 2 years. So, but OET is not really a problem. That one is an exam that you prepare for a couple of weeks. You can always pass. That one is not a problem. So,
okay. So, these exams here, is there any other alternative to write? So, like any alternative exam apart from the USMLE?
No. To practice in this country, there's no other exam.
Wow, strictly USMLE.
Besides USMLE, there's no other backyard to it. You know what? In this country, unless I've heard of some states. There's one state that have said that if you are a professional, like if you've, maybe done your residency in another outside country and you come over to the state, maybe after a couple of years or so, maybe they can allow you to practice in their state. But remember, like I said, USMA in the US, there are different states. So one state can just decide that they have short supply of doctors and decide to make 1 or 2 changes just to accommodate some people from outside. But I think I've heard of one state recently that said things about being able to take people from outside. I don't know. I don't really know about that too much. And I don't know how possible it is. I've never seen anybody do it. I don't know if it's possible. People can always come over. If you did your residency outside the country, you can always come over here and do your fellowship. But you can hardly practice in the US without doing residency in the US. You can come do your fellowship and go back to your country. Some people come here, do their fellowship, and after fellowship, they have to go back here in this country and do residency to be able to practice. So the US, most states in the US, majority, if not all, but most states in the US will require you to have done your residency here in the US to be able to practice as a medical doctor. And you would have to have passed your USMLE exams to be able to do your residency. So it is what it is.
Abby?
Yeah.
So this matching process here, what are the criteria to be met to be matched?
Simple. ECFM, just be ECFM certified, which means that you would have done your step 1, step 2, and OET for you to match. Now, when you're applying in September, you mustn't have been ECFM certified. If you've done step 1 and step 2, and you're still yet to write OET or certify for ECFMG, you can apply in September. But you have to be certified before March, when you match in the following year. If you get what I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. But just know that before you apply in September, at least you must have done step 1 and step 2. You should have done step 1 and step 2. Some people will apply in September with just step 1 and their step 2 result is not out. But general advice, before you apply in September, you should have done step 1 and step 2. Even if you're not certified yet with ECFMG, people do it. People mark before, people apply and then get certified in maybe say December of that year or January. But the main thing is that before you match in the March of the next year after you apply, you must be ECFM certified for you to be matched. So these are the basic things you need for application to the US, to programs in the US. Every other thing that you hear is addition because you want your CV to look good. For example, you're applying to a firm that, let me say, is an engineering firm. They say that at least you should be a graduate with a certificate. Sure? Then they can now say 3 years experience preferred. The preferred can be, any company can put what they prefer. The same way in the US, any hospital can put what they prefer in terms of application. But the basic things you need is to have passed step 1 and step 2. These are the basic things.
Okay. So CVs now, is it how heavy your CV is that can actually qualify you to like get matched very easily? Because I think you're making it sound like the MBA draft, you know?
So there are things that most hospitals consider. Number 1 is your score. You want to have in your exam, you want to have a good score in your exam. So the step, normally before, step 1 and step 2 scores are looked at. Step 1 score is very important, but because they've removed score from step 1, the whole thing is now different. So now step 2 scores, you want to have a good step 2 score. That's number 1. Number 2 is that they look at is your year of graduation. So how long ago did you graduate? So in the US applying, they have recent graduates and old graduates. Recent graduates are people that have graduated within the past 5 years for medical school are termed as recent grads. Then people that have graduated above 5 years are termed as old grads. Now, some other colleges, some other hospitals have different things. Some people prefer people that are 2 years post-graduation. Some people prefer people that are within 3 years post-graduation. Some people 5 years. So it depends. But generally, if you are within 5 years, they see you as okay, you're not an old grad. If you are above 5 years, old grad. These 3 things. Number 3 thing is interest in the specialty. So
interest. Explain that, please.
Interest in specialty is that they want to see that they want to see that your CV shows that you actually want that specialty. For example, if you are applying pediatrics, for example, they want to see that you've done maybe an extra rotation in pediatrics. You have things that show that you are somebody that is interested. For example, if you did research, they would prefer to see a research in something that is pediatric related. They want to see, let me say, a volunteer work in something that is pediatric related. They want to see something that in your CV that shows that you have a passion for this specialty. They want to see that. So that's another thing they look at. Some other thing that I would say that they also look at would be, these are the main things. Every other thing is addition. The other thing to look at is research. The more number of research you have, the better. Usually. If you have 1, 2, 3, fine, 4, 5, any number of research you have, push it in there. Even if it is not just in the specialty, you want to have some research. If it's in the specialty, better. So these are the major things that I think I would say looks good on the CV. Now, CV, it also depends on how you portray yourself. If you're somebody that did really well in medical school, you want to still put those things down in CV. If you are somebody that these ones are less important compared to the ones I mentioned already. These ones are other things, other adjunctive things that you can put, which are maybe you did your best graduating in your medical school, maybe you did really well, maybe there are some qualities you showed for medical school you want to talk about, maybe there's some leadership properties you have, little things here and there that you want to, put together and just, put in there. But those things I mentioned initially are like the major things, other things that they look at when it comes to looking at your CV. Because these programs have so many people applying to their programs. Like these hospitals, they have so many people applying. So they need to be able to select the ones they feel that are good for their program. So they need to be able to, pick out people from the places that applies to them. So yeah, it is what it is.
Okay, so Oh, can you hear me? I want to be sure you hear me.
Yeah, I can hear
Yeah,
you.
frozen. Okay. All right. So let's talk about CV. Yeah. Let's talk about now people that are participating in the NIMSA activities, ESUMSA activities now.
Mm.
How well would that boost them?
Like I said, the things I mentioned initially are more important than these ones I mentioned after, which are activities in school. Activities in school will anything at all that shows that you are a strong candidate. You are somebody that can work well, can combine, balance whatever thing you're doing in life with working. That shows that you were a good student. That shows that you stand out amongst like the plenty people that apply to the program. It is important. But those things I mentioned initially about scores and interest and year of graduation, they are more important, you get, compared to these other things. So if you are maybe something in ESUMSA or maybe best graduating, you still want to put it in your application because those things somehow will still be like, okay, well, he has some leadership qualities, maybe something we're looking for. You see? So it is what it is.
Mm-hmm. All right. So let's talk about money now. What can actually entice people to come
So
here, come there?
I do like money.
That's what what else are we doing there now? Hello, sorry, I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Hello, Chief. Okay, I think he. Okay, remember you guys should bring in your questions in my DM. All right, we'll answer them at the end of the session.
So, where do we stop?
Money. What's the pay like?
Pay at what level?
Okay, as a resident, what's the pay like for you guys? Like,
as a resident, all residents basically make around the same amount across the board. So when you get into residence, they pay residents a fixed amount. Other jobs in the US, most of the jobs in the US will pay people according to hour. So you work so number of hours, you get paid this number of hours. And even as a consultant, a lot of times that's what you will be working under, like how much you work. But for residency, it's a different ballgame. Residency, you are in training. So the hospital pays you a particular amount. No matter how you work, nobody cares. So even if you are in surgical residency, the same amount. You are in psychiatry or internal medicine, the same amount. That's what they're getting paid. But the thing there is, it's just through reasons. But in your first year, most programs in your first year they have an amount. Second year they maybe bump it a little bit. Third year they bump it a little bit. It depends on how many years your training is. So in most places across US, the average amount you get paid, I think, in a year is 65K. That's the average you get paid in a year, especially in your first year. First year usually around 65K of an average. Some people pay as much as 70, some people pay as small as 60. Now, that whenever somebody tells you amount the person is getting paid, it is pre-tax in the US. Nobody says you are getting paid this amount and it is post-tax. Why? Because what people go home with is different depending on the number of children you have, whether you are filing with your wife, whether you are married or unmarried, whether you are filing as you are single, whether you have 2 kids or 5 kids or 10 kids. See, everybody's not going home with the same amount. Or whether you're bringing out money for your pension or whatever it is, maybe health insurance. So usually, to make everything level, they just say this is the amount you have to pay pre-tax. So that is what it is like. Now, tax depends on, like I said, the individual and the states. Different states pay different rates of tax in the US. Tax is usually, if you're filing as a single person without any kids or anything, would range across states, would range between 23% to 26%. Maybe there's some people that are below 23. Maybe there's some people that are above 26. I don't know. But for the states I've been in the US so far, I would say between 23 and 26% of the money you're getting paid is tax. That's if you are single.
Okay, what state are you in?
Without any kids or any wife. That's what I'm talking about.
What state are you in, sir?
I'm in New York.
New York. That's dope. Actually, that's where I want to be, though. I like the busy part of life.
The busy part. I'm the opposite of you because I'm not in the busy part of New York. I'm in the campus. I'm not in NYC, sir. I'm outside NYC. So
where is that? Long Island or something?
I'm in upstate New York. A place called Rochester. So I'm like 3 hours away from Canada.
Oh, okay.
I'm upstate, so we are kind of close to the Caribbean. Like the city where I'm in, it's kind of close to Canada, about 3 hours. About 1 hour from Buffalo. Don't know if you know Buffalo, so a lot of people know Buffalo, so sure. About 3 hours,
Buffalo in New York.
Yeah. I'm like an hour from Buffalo, New York. So.
Okay. So now let's talk about lifestyle now. What's it like in your lifestyle?
Lifestyle.
US.
Lifestyle depends on your specialty. Actually, now my specialty here in the US is psych. I'm in psychiatry. So anything you're doing depends on your specialty. I have a friend of mine that is in New York City. He's actually in Manhattan. He's in general surgery in Manhattan. Now, I have a better lifestyle compared to him because being in general surgery, he works more in residency. And even post-residency, they work more. But the good thing there is that you want to be where you feel like you want to be. Like the specialty you're going for should be the specialty that you really want to do at the end of the day. I know money at the end of the day would contribute in terms of when you're an attendant, the kind of money you make in specialty will also contribute in terms of choices. But you also have to think of other things. So lifestyle or balance, work-life balance depends on the specialty. Some specialties work more, some specialties work less. If you're in a surgical specialty, you work more. If you're somewhere like internal medicine, they work a lot, but it's not as much as surgery. If you're somewhere like pathology, for example, you don't expect a pathologist to be working, a pathology resident to be working as much as internal medicine. It's just the same way it is in Nigeria. Like, if you're doing your rotations, if you're doing there are some specialties that are more calm, specialties that are more crazy. The same thing. So it depends on the specialty you are in. But its residency is not generally sure. Like there's a lot of work. Like at least most of the time, in residency it depends on the posting you're doing. Because the way you see residents in Nigeria and having them work in different specialties in terms of their rotation. Like let me say if somebody might be in ONG or let me say internal medicine, but the person has to do rotation, go to surgery, maybe do like 1 month, go here, do 1 month, go here, do 1 month. It's the same way it is done here. So your time in terms of lifestyle also depends on the posting you're doing. Like as of last month, when I was doing my internal medicine rotation, I had absolutely no time because I was working 6 days a week and 1 day off. But now that I'm in inpatient psych, I'm working like 5 days a week and I'm getting like 2 days off in the weekend. So it depends on the kind of posting you're doing and it depends on the kind of specialty you're in.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was actually very interesting though.
Yeah.
Okay. How many hours do you work in a day though?
Um, on default, in a day that you're not on call, and it's just a regular day, no call, no nothing, most likely it's going to be ranging from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. When I was doing internal medicine, it was 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. That I'm just talking of a day where I'm not on call at all. So that's what it ranges for. So it's crazy, man. It can be really hectic, to be frank.
Okay, so that time, like while you're on call, there's no breaks. There are breaks, right?
No, 8 to 5, you have breaks definitely in the center, like somewhere maybe 12. Usually, most places in the US, break is around 12. You get, so you can get, like, let me say, depending on the place center, on the posting that you're doing. Sometimes you can have, like, let me say, an hour break. Sometimes you can have like 30 minutes break, depending on what it is. So, but usually by 12, maybe 12 to 12:30, 12 to 1. Sometimes during that break, we might have, maybe say, a conference, a short conference during that break. So sometimes it can be stressful, sometimes it can be chill. It just like depends. But residency generally is not easy in the US. It's a lot of work. I won't lie to anybody. It's a lot of work.
Okay. Well, I think there's something that we missed talking about that is actually quite important though. The visa process. What's the visa
Oh yeah.
process like?
Oh yeah, the visa process. So the visa process it depends. The visa process mainly, if you have most people, most centers, if you've done step 1 and step 2 and you're applying, you'd have most centers require having to apply for visa for you. So if you're applying for March after step 1 and step 2, there are some hospitals that don't sponsor visa. There are some that sponsor. So you want to apply to the ones that sponsor visas. The ones that sponsor visas will most likely sponsor what we call a J1 visa for you. Now, there are some times where people sponsor H1B. There are two kinds of visas, J1 and H1B. The H1B visas are usually sponsored for people that have done step 3. Now, that is an advantage of people that do step 3. If you, before applying, you are able to come to the US to do your step 3 USMLE, when you are applying, hospitals, instead of applying J1, can go ahead and apply H1B, which is better. There are some advantages for J1 and some advantages for H1B over J1, but usually most people feel that H1B is better because it is easier for you to convert from H1B to maybe a green card eventually. J1 will require more tasking things in the future for you to be able to apply for a green card. So, because H1B is like the full work visa compared to J1. So, that's one thing about the visa. But usually, when you're applying for March, the hospital that takes you will be the people to sponsor your visa. Now, if they sponsor your visa, it's very unlikely that you will not be granted the visa in the embassy if you've already matched. There are very few times where people don't get like visa after they're matched, and it's almost always when the person already had a prior visa violation, which means that the person had probably come to the US before and messed up or did something that violated the person's visa, and you already have like a red, like maybe you have like a bad mark on their system. But if you don't have any problem with the US embassy and you match and they sponsor your visa, like I don't see the reason why they won't give you visa when you've already matched. So
okay,
yeah.
So you spoke about green cards. What are these green cards actually about?
Green card is permanent residence. Now that means like they give you green card normally comes in, let me say, I think usually 10 years. So they give you like, let me say, permanent residency, which means that it's just like you are capable of being in this country you're capable of leaving the country and coming back anytime. You're capable of working. You're capable of maybe getting a green card for your spouse, but you're not a citizen. So it's just the next level after being a citizen of a country. The next level is basically like a green card, which means that you're not a citizen, but we allow you to basically enjoy almost everything that a citizen would enjoy. That's what the green card is, basically. So that one takes some time, but that one is something that shouldn't be bothered about now. If you want to come to US pathway, get to US first, then start taking off green card. My phone. Oh boy. Wait, I don't think I can hear you. Did I?
Sorry. I muted the mic of the trucks passing through our street. Okay. So in the US now, when you wake up, you go to work. Yeah. How do you start? What's it like?
So a day in the life, I guess that's what you're asking. So a day in my life, basically, presently, that I'm doing like my inpatient psych, rotation. So let's say tomorrow morning, normally I wake up early enough. I wake up around 6:30, or if I'm too lazy on that day, maybe around 7. And then, I try and get ready. Normal now. Sometimes I pack maybe lunch. Sometimes I just don't pack lunch because maybe I feel I'll maybe have something in the hospital. Sometimes if they give us like tickets, sometimes our hospital gives us maybe like tickets for like free lunch and stuff. It depends on what I have at that point in time. I just dress up, wear my scrubs. Usually if you're working inpatient, you wear scrubs. Any inpatient thing is basically scrubs. You can wear scrubs with the lab coat if you want, like you see on the movies. You can wear only scrubs if you want. So wear scrubs, take my bag, leave, drive straight to the hospital. Usually for me, from here to where I work is about, let me say, 10 to 12 minutes drive. So I just enter the car, drive straight, get to the hospital, park at the car park. I would want to get into the hospital at least 30 minutes to an hour before the attendant comes, so you can see the patients. The same way we do in Nigeria. You want to go in first and round on the patients. So I go in earlier in the morning, round on the patients. Usually before inpatients, like before the attendant comes in, when we do like the whole like clinical discussion and meeting before we start running on the patients, is around 8:30 in my own center. When I did my internal medicine rotation, it was around, I think, 10 a.m. It's different for different places. So I go see the patients first, wait. When we do our clinical like meeting, they bring up all the attendants or consultants have different group of patients. So what we usually do is they talk about everybody's patients. So they call these patients, everybody talks. I would have to say, I saw the patient this morning. I would add things about the patients, new things that happened between the previous day and that day, and then maybe have an idea of when we are likely going to discharge the patient or not, or any medical changes we need to make. So you can make that input, because they encourage us to be the ones to say what we want to do to our patients because we're residents, and then the attending might now maybe make some fine changes. So this is what we do. Then after the clinical meeting, around about 9:30, we now go because we also have medical students surrounding in our hospital too. So it's just the same way you see in Nigeria. Like you see the consultant, you see the residents, and then you see the medical students going to see the patients, round on the patients, see this patient, talk, do those things. Then after seeing all the patients we need to see, we'll come back, sit down with our consultant or our attendant, and then we'll talk about each patient. You as the resident now will be the one that will put in the medications and all those things. So you say, this patient, I think we should do this, do that. If it's a new patient that we saw, he might want you to be the one interviewing the patient in front of everybody. After interviewing the patient, when everybody sits down, he will want you to be like, okay, make a diagnosis, what is the differentials, what medications do you want to start, and why do you want to start those medications, things like that. So it's basically the same thing we do in Nigeria. It's just that there's a lot of technology. Here we don't use paper and pen now. So we use we have like computers, we have EMR. So you want to make orders, anything you want to do is on the computer. Now we have a phone, like a work phone. Like this is my work phone. So I have a work phone that my EMR is also my work phone. So I can also put in medication from my phone. You get? I don't even need the computer. So if we're doing rounds, sometimes if we're doing rounds, and then maybe the nurse is like, and then our EMR has like what we call an e-message. Like, so in our EMR, where you have like files of different patients, there is a messaging system, like a chat system that people in the hospital can communicate with each other. So you can message the radiologist, you can message the lab, you can message anybody from there, pharmacist from that place. So it makes it really easy. So sometimes you can get a message, we can do rounds and I'll get a message on my phone where the nurse is saying that there's this patient that maybe needs, maybe the potassium is lower than 3.0 and maybe needs, for them to be maybe giving potassium for it to come up, and then you're like, okay, you enter your phone right where you're doing this. You don't need to go out and start looking for your computer where to enter it. You can do on your phone and enter the order of maybe a lab or a medication, and the nurse gives it. So it's apart from the fact that technology makes the work more effective and efficient. That is basically the same system of how to see patients, how to teach medical students, the role of a resident is the same thing. There's really no difference. You get? So after that, after seeing the patients, we sit down, discuss, and then if there are things we need to do throughout the day, we'll go ahead, maybe put in orders for the patients. If there's consults we need to do, you call different specialties, and maybe you need to call, let me say, neurosurgery, that there's a patient that has this, or maybe cardiology, you make your calls, make sure that they see the patient, and then that's, basically it. At the end of the day, if the consultant feels that he needs to discuss a particular topic with the medical students, everybody comes together again, discuss a topic or things like that. It was a teaching environment. So it's practically the same thing. And as a resident, you want to stay till the time you're supposed to stay. But the medical students can go earlier. So when you are done, you can say medical students, we're done for today, you can go. So medical students can go at the time. But us the residents will have to wait till the time is, complete, because you are getting paid and you're in training. So that's what a day in my life is like. So usually around 5 p.m., I would, just pack my things and run away from the hospital, because I don't want to leave 1 extra minute. Let me run and get rest. So that's basically what it is. That's what a day in my life is like.
Okay.
So yeah.
That sounds quite simple, apart from the stress part, but it seems very straightforward and it's very nice, actually.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I give them a point. It's basically the same thing we do in Nigeria. It's just that there's technology aspect and everything you need is available. There won't be a time where you say this quantity, they'll tell you they don't have it. No. It's available. All you have to do is just type the thing you need and just sign it. And things will start moving around, things will start happening. Because everybody's doing their work when they're supposed to do their work. Nobody's going to start with the nurse. You don't even need to go and see nurse and tell nurse, do this one. Just go to the patient. You see the nurse that is taking care of the patient. Just tap on the nurse and say, hi, please can you do this for the patient? She will say, I'll fine, or thank you, or I'll do that. She will go and do it. You don't even need to see the nurse face to face. So the way just technology just made it a lot easier for people to communicate amongst the group. And then you can in the chat, you can also link your attending and the medical students in the chat. They will see how everybody's communicating. You don't necessarily have to even see the person face to face. If you need to call a consult for, let me say, oncology, for example, you just look, there's a place we normally go into, look for the oncologist that is on call. Do you get? If you want, you can chat the oncologist or you can call the oncologist because their number or their page, or you can page them. Page them, they see it, and then they'll go and see the patient and then put their notes in. From there where you are, you see the notes. You don't need to start going up and down, left and right and center. So there's a lot of work we do in front of our computers, aside from just seeing patients. That is the not so good part. There's a lot of work we do in front of computers. So everything has an advantage, has its advantage. So it's just and monitoring of it because these are efficient here. Monitoring of patients like they are better. Like sometimes you can put in, you can be like, okay, this patient is actively losing blood. The patient comes in, maybe vomiting blood and everything. And then you want to be sure you want to monitor the hemoglobin. You can, put in hemoglobin checks every 6 hours. Every 6 hours, you see the blood, you see the CBC or the hemoglobin to come out every 6 hours. So,
wow,
everything is efficient. That is just the difference. The difference is that everything is efficient. If you want to monitor, and that is the reason why people hardly die as much as, like when I was in internal medicine, all the time I was there for like 4 weeks. Most of the patients that I took care of, or my entire team took care of, we didn't lose any patients. This is not something you usually see when you're in Nigeria. That tells you that if you have an effective and efficient medical system, you hardly lose patients. And that's the reason why they have a longer life expectancy, even though they also live, there is not as if they don't live reckless lives. They do, but they have a higher life expectancy because things are working. If you call ambulance, ambulance don't reach. Before they reach hospital, they're already doing something in the ambulance. You cannot compare it to where you carry the person from inside normal car and then go and they'll run up and down. So that's the reason why they live longer. But these guys live longer than we do. That is just the basic truth. So it is what it is.
Okay, so like culturally speaking now, like what was the cultural shock like? Because I feel that's a very, very big aspect. You're a Nigerian, you have different values here. So you can say as much as you want to say, so don't say as much as you can about that.
The culture shock is unending. Actually, it is for the culture shock. That one is unending. The more you are at the state, the more you are experiencing more things. Now, let's say we've seen most of the stuff on TV, but coming here, really, in culture shock basis, for me, I wouldn't say I really had much of a culture shock. I think I had more of a system shock, like the system of the country kind of took me some time to adjust to compared to like the culture, because on the internet we have an idea what the culture looks like. We know that there are some people that you see that a guy that will be dressed like a lady. You get? I saw those things when I came, but I didn't really feel like it really shocked me. I just looked and I was like, okay, but I didn't really get so shocked per se because we saw those things online before coming. Sometimes you still see a girl dressed like a guy dressed like a girl, or people have maybe like a lot of piercings, or some people have like one I started seeing from the airport was you see some people that their whole body is like tattoo. I see these things online, so I wasn't so shocked per se. You get? And then during summertime, you see a lot of, the way they dress, like the ladies dress. The ladies where we come from, they wear bomb shorts, but their bomb shorts is not bomb shorts. That thing we wear is not bomb. That thing is short. We wear shorts. Our ladies wear shorts, not bomb shorts. Their own bomb shorts is bomb shorts because it's called bomb. It's called bomb shorts for a reason because part of the bomb is supposed to be showing. So that's the way. But these things didn't really shock me because we see some of these things online. It was more of the system because the system here is entirely different. Now, what I'm trying to say is there are certain things you need. They expect you to have. The US deals basically on records. Like you have to have records in terms of getting anything. For example, there's something we call a credit score. There's something we call like a driving record. So if you want to get housing, they need something we call a credit score. Just means that you have a credit card. You are able to buy things on credit and pay back as at when due. Now, when you do these things, there's something we call a credit score that keeps going up. So that shows people when they look at your credit score that you are credible or you're not credible, meaning that you owe people or you don't owe people. That's just what they're trying to say in layman terms. Now, credit score is everything in the US. If you have a high credit score, you're able to. It's going to affect the kind of place you live in. There are some places you cannot live in if you have a low credit score. There are a lot of places you cannot live in. A lot of places if you have a criminal record. All this, somebody can go into a dealership and they'll give you a car that you'll be paying small in the future. But they cannot give it to you if you have a low credit score. So there are a lot of things. There are some jobs too that will take your credit score before they give it to you. It's not like medical, like regular jobs I'm talking about. So there's a lot of things. You have to have a good record. If you are driving, for example, and you get speed tickets, you pay for a speed ticket, it doesn't end there. Your insurance can go up. Your insurance payment with your car can go up because of speed tickets. So records are very important. Unlike in Nigeria, we just do anything and just say, Oga, sorry, and you just go ahead and do your thing. Here, once things go down in your record, it's a problem. If you come to the US, it takes you some time to build a record. If you're coming and you don't have a record yet, most people will be skeptical about maybe giving you certain things or credit or not, or the kind of places you get to live because you don't have like records or you're still trying to build them. So these things take time. Unlike, these are things that people don't prepare you for. It's when you come, you be like, I can't do this one because I can't do this one because I can't do this one. They'll be like, you have to be in the US for a while for you to be able to do this or do that. So I think more than saying culture shock, I would say I had more of a system shock where I had to try and adjust to the fact that if I say that this thing is by this time, it is by this time, not African time. So there are a lot of things you have to really adjust. You get? So you want to, if you have an appointment by 9, you want to be there before 9. If you're working as a resident here, coming in 2 minutes, 5 minutes after the time is a problem. You came late. Nobody wants to hear. You came 2 minutes after time. It's late. You're talking to yourself. And it's a problem. If it happens over and over and over again, it's a problem for the program. I'm serious. It's a big problem. So you have to adjust to the way the system is here. If you have something, you are going to go in for work by 9, you have to come in. It's not the one that consultant will come in 2 hours after time. Consultant comes before time. So imagine you, residents, coming late. So these are the things you are not so used to. You have to start adjusting to doing these things. Certain things you need appointments. Even to barb hair, you need appointment to barb hair. You need to book appointment for barb hair. That one I invest me pass. I was like, I don't understand. What do you mean? To barb hair. So it was more of a system, the way is somehow some of them are culture actually. Some of them are actually a cultural thing. So I would say more of a system shock. And then to be honest is, if you want to travel any place outside the country, if your family or a member of your family or somebody that is a friend is in a particular part of that country you are going to, it is better than any other place. You will think you're not going to feel lonely, but you feel lonely. And you feel like there's nobody to chat with. There's nobody to talk to. Those things, you enjoy them in Nigeria, you don't know how precious they are. So you come over, you travel out to a place where you don't know anybody. So you also miss home, you miss like your friends, you miss like family. So if you have a place that you're traveling to and you have a family there, trust me, it is very important. It is something again that a lot of hospitals will look at if they are applying. Especially if you're somebody in the US. If you're applying and you say your brother or your dad or your friend, close friend is in that area where you're applying, they usually like that. Because they know that people feel lonely when they are in a place where they don't know anybody. So if you're coming and you're going to a place where you don't know anybody, when you come, you want to find out, do we have a Nigerian association in that place? Do we have a Nigerian organization in that place? You would want to at least get close to Nigerians that are there so that they'll help you to tell you this is what to do and this is not what to do. Don't do this. Don't do that. Do this or do that. And at least you have a place where you go, speak your local language, speak your pidgin, laugh, do regular stuff Nigerians do. You think those things are not important. But when you come, you see that they're important. So that's another thing I have to say. Yeah.
That's actually very nice to actually hear. They actually care about how you feel at work.
No, they don't.
They don't want you feeling lonely.
They do because they know that it's not as if that per se. But if you don't have good support psychologically, it's going to affect your work. And in turn, it's going to affect what they are doing. So they want to have people that, have the emotional, psychological support and are able to keep their lives together to be able to work effectively. Because if you're not keeping your life together, how will you be able to come into work on time, see patients on time, be thinking 24/7? Because you have to always have your thinking cap on for anything you're doing. Because US and Nigeria is different in the sense that there's a lot of liability in the US. You can make a mistake and you enter a very big problem for it. So you always want to be thinking straight. You also always want to be thinking clearly. You get? So it is what it is, man.
Yeah, okay. Come to think of that thing. That's there's this popular saying, cancel culture. Like, what's actually that about? Like, how can it affect you as a person, as a doctor there?
Which one is cancel culture? Because me, I don't think I know what is cancel culture.
Okay, like now maybe you made a mistake, like a political error in your statement, and the next time everybody's coming for you and saying that we don't like you working here, that kind of stuff.
It happens where it happens. So definitely you're supposed to know if you're coming to the US. If you're going to a place where you don't know, where you are going for the first time, you can't be a talkative there. You'll be calm and be observing to see the way everybody behaves. That's another reason why you want to have a friend, at least in the country where you're going to, that will be like, guy, don't say this, don't do this, don't do that. If you do this.
Hey, bro. Are you still there? Or am I still there? If you can hear me, please, I ain't like pause. Alpha, bro. Bro. Holy shit. Hello? Are you guys still there? Oh, God. Let me look for him and find out where he went to. So I'll be back. You just said. All right, he's back. Hey. My chief, Dr. Zuma, are you there? Are you still there, bro?
Okay.
So, what's up? What happened? You disappeared.
Yeah, so sorry about that. So where did we stop?
Okay, we stopped at like cancel culture, and I feel like it was something I really wanted to highlight for a short video. I feel it's something very important that most Nigerians are not used to. We are not held accountable here for the things we say, and I feel if they have to go to a society like the USA, they have to be warned about this.
No, true, definitely. You want to, like I said, if you're going to a new place, you want to be careful of the kind of stuff that you say. I think you definitely want to observe, first of all, see the way people talk, the kind of things people say. For example, when I came here for the first time, I think I was in an Uber, and the lady was asking me like, where am I from and stuff like that. So I told her, I was asking her back. She was like, she's native. I think she said she's Native American. So I was like, do you mean Red Indians? Do you get? Now, is the same thing, bro. Red Indian, saying Red Indians is kind of racist saying that. Do you get? I didn't know. I had no idea. Do you get? So when I said Red Indian, she was like, she understood. Because the thing is about the cancel culture is, if you're a foreigner, usually you get forgiven or forgiven for saying like things that usually they will not forgive other people. So the good thing about being a foreigner in the US is certain things are overlooked for you. So there's certain things you can see. They'll be like, yeah, I understand. You know, you probably just came into the US a few months ago, so we understand. So that's just the good thing about being a foreigner. A lot of people will forgive you. Some people will be willing to help you out with some things, knowing that you just came from your own country, you're in a new place, things like that. So one thing is, we foreigners most times we get away with a lot of things that we say because they're like, okay, he's from here. That is a cultural thing. But with time, you tend to observe. And another thing I do too is I do this thing where I'm like, if I want to say something, I'm not sure. I'll be like, this, can I say this? I say it and I'll be like, I hope I can say this. It doesn't you'll be like, no, it doesn't mean it's not bad. But if you say it this way, it's bad. So as you stay in the US, gradually you get to understand what is good and what is bad, the slangs, and what you shouldn't be saying and what you should say. So cancel culture, yeah, is there, but usually new immigrants sometimes, get to learn and maybe get excused for certain things. So from my own experience, that's what I've seen.
So the idea of you are saying something about the internet. So, here we see things that we can't experience personally. And I want to know if I've experienced those things personally. The whole R word. The R word.
R word or N word?
No, both. They correlate now. Like the R word and the N word, yeah.
Okay. I don't know who is the R word again. Is the
racism?
Oh, racism. Okay, yeah, okay. R word. You can say racism now. Why are you saying R word? I thought because if I say R,
I don't know.
You say F word. You can't. F word is because you don't want to say it. But racism is, you can't say R word, but you say racism. Okay, so racism is something that, to be frank, I would say racism is something that you cannot do without. You can solve it that human beings cannot necessarily get rid of 100%. Racism will always be there. You get. But if there is a place, I keep telling people, if there is a place that I would say have really done well to a good extent with racism, I think the US have tried. At least if they are doing the racism, that there is systemic in the system, but it is not like it is so upfront. It's not something that you see, from what I've heard, when you come in newly. It's over time. You understand? So it is usually not upfront. Like I've not really had anybody come up to me and maybe use the N-word or use the N-word referring to me. But I'm sure I've had Black American friends that have told me their experiences, because they've been here longer. They've told me their experiences. They've told me maybe mild situations where maybe they're walking on the road and maybe a white person is coming, especially maybe a lady. Maybe because they feel that you are going to mock the person, they will maybe cross the road and stuff like that. So I've never really experienced it, or maybe I've experienced it, but I don't know. One thing I've heard is if you come newly, you won't really be seeing it because your mind no day there. You don't really notice it. But at least the colleagues that I have, or one or two people that I know that are Black Americans that I know here, have given me examples of salient things that are termed racism that to a Nigerian you don't really care. So personally, I've not really experienced per se. I think the closest thing I've experienced, if I would call it that, would be one time when me and a friend of mine, but that was not here in New York, I think when I was in Oregon, me and a close friend of mine, we went to pay for, through Western Union also, went to pay for something, for somebody's masters or something for somebody. So we went to where they normally pay it now. It's like in a mall where they pay for the Western Union thing. So we went there. So when I'm telling them, the lady working there, that we want to pay for one something like that. Because if they open their computer, there are different categories. There's one that you used to pay for that thing you came to pay for. So when I'm telling her, we went to the previous place, they don't have that we should go to a particular mall. We went to the mall. So she was asking us what we want to pay for. We told her there's a particular thing we want to pay for. And they said that you have it in your computer. Instead of this stupid lady to check for the thing, she said no, that there's nothing like that. She had never heard such a thing. So she went and called. She said, check this thing is there. She had to go and call her manager. Actually, she was thinking it was a scam. She was thinking we were just coming to scam her, that we were scammers. Now, maybe, I don't know. You know, I'm not used to this whole thing. Maybe if we are white, maybe she won't have been thinking it was scam. Because when the manager came, manager checked the computer and saw it. And all they did was just to apologize. Now, maybe if I'm a black American, maybe I for don't shout the ginger saying that because I be black. I don't know. Maybe. So, so sometimes, maybe these things are very, very, the racism thing, like, there are things that if you don't look well, very well, you might not really see. Do you get? So, these things are there. People, stereotypes will always be stereotypes. Even in Nigeria, it's there. Somebody will behave in a particular way, they'll say, this person is Oya, or this person is from here, or he's behaving like this kind of people. Any place you have human beings, you will have stereotypes. You would have people passing a judgment on you just because of the place you're from, or the way you look, or the way you do things. You just have to, it's just one of those things, man. The only thing here is just that before the person even speaks, the person's call already says that this person, you're already thinking because this person is black, is this or is that. But like I said, it happens, but it's usually something that you might not really notice so much. So yeah, but
okay.
It happens. Yeah.
Well, okay. Just before I throw it to the house to start asking questions, I just want to know: is there anything you knew before you wish you knew before you actually started this journey?
Anything I wish I knew. Well, I wish somebody to, because when I was starting, some people just told me about the amount you needed for the exams. At the point in time, I wish I knew somebody told me like that aside from the exams, there are a lot more expenses in terms of applying for the exam. So instead of applying for the residency, I got to find out later. That was one thing along the line I wish somebody told me, which I think I talked about today. That's one. Number two is, which other thing did I wish I knew? Well, I wish somebody told me when I was first step before step one that the thing was going to take me a lot of stress to study for. The thing is that you don't really understand how much it's going to take, how much strength it's going to take you to prepare for the exams till you start preparing for it. But it is doable. It's a doable exam. Once you sit down and you're able to study long hours, you're really able to dedicate. You have to make sacrifices. You have to make it primary and make other things in your life secondary for you to be able to, do these things. You can't read today and not read tomorrow and next tomorrow, and read and not read 2 days and read and not read. You can't study for the SMA like that. You have to be consistent and resilient. So yeah, that's basically it. Then if you're applying for residency, well, us international medical graduates, we don't really care. We just want to match anywhere, any part of the country. We don't care. But if you are matching, like I said, if you are going to be closer to where you know somebody, it is always better. 1, 2 is weather. If you don't like place that is cold, don't go to a cold place. If you like place that is hot, go to a hot place. These are just the 2 things I can possibly say. But having family or people that you have, or people that like you're from your side, from Nigeria, in the area you're going to, is always important. Then another thing, if you are traveling abroad, carry food. Carry food stuff.
Yes,
Carry food stuff. Carry food stuff.
What's about that though? Tell me about that.
To carry food stuff than to carry clothes. I'm telling you. So carry food stuff.
Yes, so you miss like Nigerian food?
Yeah, food stuff. Like food stuff from Nigeria. You can carry like gari. If you like abacha. All those condiments. You can carry even like the leaves, ogo, bitter leaf. You can always like dry them if you want. You can cut them and have them dried, and then package them well. If you want to come, you can carry all those your oporoko and all those things, different kinds of fish that you want to cook with here. You can carry them. All the people that I know that travel to different parts of the world, Germany, UK, wherever, they do better if they carry Nigerian food. Just so you know. So that's also.
So it's not feel like you're far from home or something.
Yeah, it helps, preparing Nigerian food. I'm telling you, this place. By the time you eat pizza, eat burger, you hate pizza and burger. I'm telling you. So that's just basically.
The food is actually not as good or something.
No,
the food is not as good as it looks on.
No, pizza and burger is good though, but how long will you want to eat it? By the time you eat it for 2 days, your body will feel like there's something your body's missing. Like, I don't know, man. Just carry Nigerian food. That's all I can say. That's all I can tell you. Some people even carry oba, like this thing for oba or making more and more all these things. People carry all those things. Take as much as have a big bag that is just food stuff. I'm saying it because it cuts across for people that are both traveling to UK, traveling to US, traveling to wherever you're traveling to. Just know. Don't say I didn't tell you.
Of course, Chief. Of course. Sorry, Zona. Ogazona.
So,
okay. So
and by the way, it's not Zona, it's Zona.
Oh, sorry.
It's Zona. No, because Zona is now it sounds weird. It's Zona.
How do they say it over there, sir? Let's think of it.
They say my son, most times I say I'm Dr. Zigwe, and then they get completely confused. They will like, what? They will like, who's Zigwe? They will like, Zigwe. I will like, anyone you pronounce, I'll take it. Let me see you as a patient and know what I'm doing. So Dr. Zigwe, but most of my colleagues I just say them Zona. You can remove the ARI in Arizona. That's my name. They will like, oh, okay, Zona.
Okay.
Fine. So but most patients, you want to tell them like Doctor this. So I tell them Dr. Zigwe. Most times they don't know how to pronounce it, but it's their problem. It's not my problem. So yeah.
Okay. I'm looking at questions. Nah, person talk say I hope. Please ask if you're not married. Hey God.
I'm not married though. That's the bad part of this thing. I don't know what I did and I came to the US to start getting married, but everything man will do, God.
Okay. Everybody should know now that he's up for grabs, but they have to pay because the money I used to make his flyer was not easy. Oh, we should pay money if you want his number. I'm saying it now. Okay. Yeah, then okay. Somebody said how many years? Somebody said how many years is the residency?
It depends on the specialty. Psych is 4 years. Internal medicine is 3 years. Family medicine is 3 years. Pathology is 4 years. General surgery is 5 years. I think dermatology is 5. So it depends on the specialty. Different specialties they have like different years of residency. Then, if you want to, because residency doesn't necessarily mean that you're out and you're a fellow. Residency is different from fellowship. So, for example, let me start with psych. If you're doing psych, residency is 4 years. Now, when you are done, you are an attendant. So you can start working as a psychiatrist if you want. Now, some people will go ahead to do a 1-year fellowship in either, let me say, adult psych, child and adolescent psych, addiction, forensics, whatever it is, for 1 year. Now, pathology is the same thing. Now, there are some specialties that are different. If you go to internal medicine, it's different. Internal medicine, after 3 years of residency, you come out and then you subspecialize in different systems. Now, it depends on the system. Cardiology is 3 years. Gastroenterology is 3 years. Hemato-oncology, I think, is 3 or 2 years, I'm not sure. Respiratory is 2 years. Rheumatology is 2 years. Endocrinology is 2 years. So, for the fellowship. So, it depends on the specialty. So, usually, what I tell people is, this is what it's like for different specialties. Then, if you have your own specialty you are thinking of, you can always, find out, ask. You can always Google it. It's not like hidden knowledge. So, yeah, that's basically what it is. So, it's not a must to do fellowship. You can just do your residency, do your thing. You can do internal medicine residency for 3 years, be working as an internist, without like having any particular specialty. Like you'll be seeing all internal medicine patients, but not a particular specialty. Now, if you want to specialize, you have to do extra number of years for fellowship. So that's the way the US is organized.
Okay, that's very, very nice to hear. Someone is asking about this tax stuff, the child, all this stuff. Either you know more about it, so you can say.
Well, the best thing will use the tax. But okay.
I don't know, it's just curious.
The taxing thing in the US is, there are two things you need to know about the taxing thing. One is, taxes depends on which state you are in. So, some states have a higher tax than some other states. I think New York has a higher taxing rate. New York, I think, taxes up to maybe 26% if you don't have anybody. So it depends on the state, number one. The second thing depends on what family type you have. Now, if you are married and you have kids, when you're filling your tax form, you can feel that you have 3 kids. So there's an amount that they will not pull out because you have 3 kids from the taxes. So the tax they will cut will be lower than somebody that doesn't have any kids. Now, if you have 5 kids, it's going to be lower than somebody that has maybe 2 kids. That's number one. Number two is, are you filing together with your wife? If your wife is in the US and your wife is working in the US, and you are filing jointly with your wife, obviously, the taxes, they will also take into consideration of how the tax is being collected, and then they will also take into consideration whether your wife is naming maybe your kids or whether you're the one naming the kids. So it depends. So the taxing strategy or the taxing outcome is usually different for different people, and that is the reason why when you see salaries of US being stated, it's stated pre-tax, because people have different take home at the end of the day after taxes. That's one. Number two thing that affects tax is your income. The higher you make in the US, the more taxes you pay. So this 20-something% I'm talking about is because you are making probably less than 100K. Now, when you become an attendant and you are making 300, 400, 500, the taxes is going to be more.
500K a year?
Yes. The taxes will be more. So you pay more taxes. Most likely, I think you'll be paying up to 30-something% tax at that point. So the higher your income is, the more taxes you're going to pay. So that's basically what it is.
Okay. Yeah. That's very nice. Then, okay. If it's possible. Okay. This one has been answered already. Okay. All right. You guys should send me your questions to my WhatsApp. Okay. Also, if it is possible to
They should be
anyway,
moving the questions though, because it's almost time for me to go.
honestly, all right now. Let's now see because I've gone like I think we're like 2 hours strong, and I promise
Yeah,
to no more than 2 hours.
we're over 2 hours strong, guy. Over 2 hours strong. So
I'm very sorry, my chief.
no, it's okay. No, it's okay. It's fine. But the questions should roll in like faster, so that we
No,
can start
it's
this.
like 7:22 Nigerian time. You can see that like out of the 40 something people that are here, like 23 people left, and
Yeah.
left for me is me personally. I'm enjoying the conversation. That's why I'm actually here
No, it's okay.
for
It's
this
okay.
long.
You come in,
Okay,
and then it depends on the kind of information you're looking for and what you want to hear. So
okay. So he
okay.
said that are there scholarship programs for the USMLE?
Scholarship programs. That is a good question. The kind of question I ask myself during my own time. Usually, there are usually no scholarship programs. Usually. Now, there are sometimes where some individuals might decide to have some sort of a scholarship program. There was one man wanted to do at a point in time when I was when I was trying to prepare for my exams. I think the man kind of opened some sort of an academy in Enugu, and which I joined them that time to organize. Open an academy where it would have people maybe pay any small amount, a small amount actually, and be able to stay in their accommodation and study for the exam and then get food and all those things. I don't know how much they pay now, so I won't start talking about it. So what the man was talking about then, I know when I was talking with the man is an attendant here in US. What the man was talking about then was that sometimes that he would be able to maybe pay for some people that have a certain kind of score to be able to come over to the US or maybe to be able to write step 1 or step 2. And then there was a time I also saw some people again online that were looking at maybe sponsoring application if you have a particular score in the step 1 and step 2. But these things are basically just individuals. So we don't really have a full-blown like scholarship there looking for people to sponsor. Do you get? We don't have that. That is just the truth. We don't have that. So, like, let me say in the US now, the way you have scholarship for masters now, you have scholarship for application and all those things. No, we don't. It's not something that you see, to be frank, because the US medical students actually have to collect loans to pay some of their school fees, or if not all their school fees, if they don't have their parents paying for them. And they pay those loans back when they start work. So why would they be giving scholarship to people coming from outside when their own people need scholarship? So that is just what it is. I know master's programs here. Some master's programs, they have scholarship. They have part payment. But the USMLE, there's no such thing as that. Unless there's a private private group that are doing their own thing on their own, maybe somewhere on the internet. I don't know about that. But yeah.
Okay. So you get the updates now, Abby?
If they have an update, fine. But it's not something I've heard of being fully done.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and by the way, those people I saw online said that do it. It's not really a scholarship. They actually give you money to do it, and then you pay them back when you start. So, to be frank, I've never heard of anybody doing anything scholarship. The best thing you see, maybe somebody that maybe borrow money to you and maybe have you pay when you start, which they are very few. One I've seen one, and they had a lot of criteria. So it's not something you find. Yeah.
All right. Someone is asking that after getting certified as a foreign medical graduate, can you work in the US as a medical officer without being in a residency program the way they do in the UK?
No, you cannot. But I've heard of one or two places in some states where you can work as an assistant physician. That is, if you have the papers, if you have US papers. That is for people that have US papers that are already in the US. I've heard that people that have US papers that are already in the US that have finished from their own country and maybe have ECFMG can have a place where they can work as an assistant physician. But aside that whole story, the simple answer is no.
Okay.
So you must go through residency training before. You must go to residency training. You must have done at least 1 year in your residency and you've passed step 3 for any state to even give you license to be able to practice as a GP on your own, at least. So residency is a must.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, this person, please, sir, how can I get these rotations you talked about and the type of visa for it? I have done step 1 and I'm trying to get the program. I've heard that the letters of recommendations from the program are important for matching.
Yeah, so that is one other thing that I didn't mention. Thank you for asking this question. This question is a very important question. I'll answer the question and I'll say what I forgot to say. Now, how you can get these programs is basically going online. There are some programs, there are some organizations that act as third party. There's this USMLE SATI, USMLE SARTHI. Is owned by an Indian man. I know they normally do this for IMGs where you pay them and they get you a program or a hospital in the US where you can come and do rotations. Now, for you to get, or you can personally ask questions and find hospitals where you can apply to. I have a friend of mine that just got into the US. She's applying this year though, but she just got into the US because she's doing rotation in somewhere in Washington, DC. And she applied to the place, she paid some money. So usually if you want to apply for rotation, you have to pay the program. Most programs you have to pay. Now the payment ranges from, I think, popularly known 1,005 in USD to about 3,000. Some big places might collect even more than 3,000. I've heard of some places that might collect less than 1,005. But popularly, 1,005 to about 3,000 or 4,000. Now you pay, you'll have like this qualification, like when you've done step 1, most of them require you to have done step 1. So if you've done step 1 and maybe you make contacts, you find places, like I said, you can go through platforms, you can go directly. Direct is always better because if you go through a platform, it's good because they'll get you the information you need, but if you have a plan, nothing is free in the US. If there's a platform you're going through, it means that you're paying extra to the platform somehow. So if you can find directly, maybe you can go to Kainji. If you're on USMLE group Kainji, you can ask on Kainji. Ask questions. Are there places that you people have gone, people, residents or people that have matched, or people from the previous years have been able to go and do a rotation? Let people tell you, and then you go to their site and see what you need to apply. Or you go through those platforms that you need to go to. For example, the USML, ESAT, and some other places. You can go on Reddit and ask these questions on Reddit and see the common places that are affordable that you can go to. Reddit is somewhere that you can get a lot of information. Then if you get all these things, you can now start trying which place is the best place you can possibly go to. Now, having step 1 and some other requirements and paying the money, at least they can now send you a paper and now be like, okay, we've accepted you. You need to go to embassy. Now, at that point in time, what you need is appointment at the embassy. When you go to embassy, you go with the paper, blah, 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 blah. You need to have rotations for this, that. And then, if they give you the visa, you can come over, do your rotations. When you're done with the rotations, you go back. Some people wait till when they're done with step 2, so that when they come for the rotation, they can do both rotation and step 3. Or they apply to come over with step 3 and then come and do step 3 and rotation. Like that, my friend that just came over to the US for that rotation at Washington DC. I think it was St. Elizabeth, somewhere in Washington DC, that she came in for a rotation, but she's applying psychiatry. She's coming in for the rotation and she's going to do her step 3. So she's trying to use one stone to kill 2 birds. So these are the things you have to, really organize yourself and plan on how to go about it. And then, so if you come, you can do everything once, then before you go back. So yeah, that's something, that's the best way to go about it. And then, since I've answered the question, just to mention one thing, when you're applying, you need letter of recommendation when you're applying for residency. So you need at least 3 letters of recommendation. And most specialties will require at least 1 or 2 letters from that specialty. So what it means is that if you can get letter of recommendation for people in the US, it increases your chances. Do you get? But it cannot be a resident, it has to be an attendant. So if you can get letters of recommendation for people in the US, it's good. But if you don't have letter of recommendation for people in the US, you can always get from your medical school or people you worked with in your house job. Do you get? If it's in your specialty that you're applying to, the specialty you're applying to, better than getting letters from specialties you're not applying to, because it shows interest in your specialty. So usually if somebody comes to the US to do a rotation and has letter from the US, I advise them to use letter from the US and also have at least 1 letter from their medical school. Because sometimes your programs will want to see a letter of somebody that knew you for a good number of years. So I didn't talk about the letter of recommendation when I was talking about application. That one is also important.
Okay. Somebody's asking, how bad can be your chances if you fail that English exam in particular?
Nobody cares about this. Nobody cares about that English exam, man. Like, you can write the English exam 4 times. Nobody gives a damn about this.
Okay.
The OET, I have friends that wrote OET twice or 3 times. I know people that have maths that wrote OET a couple of times. Nobody cares about OET. To be frank, they won't write the number of times you wrote. Nobody's going to write the number of times you wrote OET. Because you are the one that's going to release your OET results to ECFMG. Do you get? So it's the one that you pass that you release to them. But your USMLE exam is different. If you fail it, it will be there permanently. It cannot be erased. So when you apply for residency, they will write that you wrote this step 1 at this time and you failed it. And you wrote at this time. So the date you wrote your step 1 and how many times you wrote it will be there in your application. But OET is just that you passed it. The program you're applying to don't necessarily need OET. It is ECFMG that needs OET to certify you. So nobody cares about OET.
Okay. Now somebody's asking, when you're doing those rotations, do you handle your accommodation by yourself or the hospital can help you in any way?
To be frank, I think you do it by yourself. I don't really, because I didn't really do my rotation that way, so I don't really know. But I don't think the hospital will accommodate you. In my own program, we've had people do rotation in our program. I think we had somebody that came that schools in somewhere in the Caribbean. His medical school is in the Caribbean. He came to do rotation with our program. He had to do his own. He had to stay where. He had to figure out where to stay. So sometimes people find rotation where they have somebody. So let me say you have an uncle now staying in Atlanta. The first thing that should be coming to your head is that you need the rotation somewhere in Atlanta, so that you can always be in your uncle's house and then go to the rotation from there every morning. If you get what I mean. So most places they don't do accommodation for you. You have to take care of the accommodation yourself. So it is what it is.
Okay, somebody is asking whether you know the one for orthopedic surgery and plastic surgery in particular.
The one in what sense?
The residency program.
Well, orthopedic and what again? Sorry.
And plastic surgery.
Okay, now the thing is, in the US, some residencies are harder to get into than some other residencies, even for American medical graduates. Now, these specialties are specialties that usually people that are high flyers in among the American medical graduates get into. So you want to be having like the highest scores in your exams. You want to like have excelled in so many ways in your exams if you want to apply big specialties. So most surgical specialties are big specialties. Now, getting into ortho or plastics, I don't know anybody in ortho and plastics. I'll be frank. Personally, I don't know anybody personally in ortho and plastics because it's not an easy specialty to get into. Now, there are different pathways to do things in this country. For example, some people that want to get into ortho and plastics, what they do is they can apply and get into general surgery. Because amongst all the surgical specialties, the relatively easier one to get into is general surgery. So some people get into general surgery first. It's not easy to get into. It's relatively easier. Like my guy that is in general surgery now had 260 step 2. So, which is a very high score. So now getting into general surgery, some people do after general surgery, they now go and sub-specialize in plastics. Or go and So if you go into like some of these specialties cut across each other. So you can go, if you can't go directly to plastics or directly to orthopedic, you can go through general surgery. And then after general surgery, maybe you go and do a sub-specialization in, let me say, cardiothoracic surgery, or sub-specialization in maybe say plastic surgery, sub-specialization in whatever surgery you want to do. So that is one thing that you can do. But you can always apply orthopedic and plastics. Anything is possible, but it's very hard to get into. Like very hard. That's what I can say.
All right, so we'll take 3 more questions. That's 2 or 3. Let's do this one.
Because I have an appointment by 3 p.m. my time, and it's 20 minutes to 3. Where I am. So.
Okay. Let's not do short answers instead. All right. Give us the best recommendations in terms of specialty. Whether if there's anyone that is lacking over there that they want, and is in high demand.
Recommendation according to specialty. Well, specialties that are always lacking. Primary care specialties are usually always lacking. Why? In any part of the world. Because you need more primary care specialties compared to any other specialty. Why? Because primary care is like they attend to every single thing you get. Not specialists. Specialists like have to attend to like some group of the population. But primary care specialties have to, attend to as many persons as possible. Every single individual in the US is supposed to have a primary care physician. So usually the most demand they want usually is in family medicine, in internal medicine has like a high demand. Presently, emergency medicine didn't used to have a high demand, but presently it looks like they are having like a high demand of emergency medicine. I think pediatrics is also like a primary specialty kind of thing. So pediatrics will also take people. After these people, the other next place where I think that you have also demand, psychiatry also has demand because the level of mental health issues in the US now is out of place. It's going out of hand. So, it's going out of hand. So a lot of places actually have less psychiatrists than is needed. Presently now in the US, there are a lot of places that if you want to see a psychiatrist, you have to wait for like 6 months to get an appointment. So there are a lot of places like that you need that. With other specialties, going upwards. Pathology is not that so crazy scarce. Quite alright, but they're needed to an extent, not like primary specialties. And then other specialties, general surgery. General surgery definitely need a lot of people because general surgery is like family physician of surgery. Do you get? So that's what I call general surgery. So most people will definitely, meet up with general surgery before maybe they get referred to other specialties of surgery. Then aside these places, I know OBGYN, I definitely they need people, but OBGYN is not so easy to get into. Neurology is another place that is also needed. So the truth is, generally, like I said, primary care specialties usually require more people. And that's where they usually have more spaces. Primary care specialties have more spaces than any other specialties because their training programs are more. So you have more training spots for primary care specialties compared to sub-specializing. So for example, places like plastic surgery or maybe orthopedic surgery has fewer training programs than somewhere like family medicine. Family medicine has more sports. Internal medicine has more sports compared to all those tiny specialties, subspecialties. So yeah, that's the most I can answer when it comes to that aspect.
Okay. Somebody was also asking, if you register for like a particular specialty, would there be situations where they will not push you to another specialty, like how you want medicine and they'll push you to another course?
Yeah,
something like that.
Usually that doesn't happen. Why it seems as if that might happen is you can apply to more than one specialty at the same time. So if you're applying for the match in September, there are people that I know that apply to internal medicine and family medicine. Some people apply to general surgery and internal medicine. Some people apply to psych and family medicine. Some people apply to internal medicine and pediatrics. So some people can apply to even 3. So you can apply to as many specialties as you want. Nobody cares. It's just that, and that's the reason why specialties want to see your interest in their own specialty, because they know that you can apply to more than one. So if they see your CV and your resume is showing that you like pathology, but you apply to psychiatry, it's going to be looking for you. Do you get? So most times you want to apply to maybe 2 specialties that look alike. And that's the reason why some people apply to internal medicine and family medicine, because somehow they share some things together. So you can apply to more than one specialty. And you can have some people apply to, let me say, popularly people apply to IM, internal medicine, family medicine. In the sense that when they now get interviews and they are submitting their rank list, they will submit with internal medicine on top and family medicine below. So it depends on where the person gets into. But any place you see anybody ending up in is what they apply to, one way or another. So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, what about this? What is the possibility of getting obstetrics and gynecology residency spot as a male Nigerian doctor?
It's possible. I don't have any close friends, but I know every year there are some international medical graduates that match into OBGYN. So matching into OBGYN is not easy. It's not matching into OBGYN is not amongst the top 3 or top 4 or 5 easy specialties to get into in the US, but it is possible. It is not as difficult as orthopedic surgery to get into or plastic surgery. Do you get? So it's possible. I think it's quite possible for you to get the OBGYN, but you need to. I would advise you to get good scores in your exams. 1, 2. I'd advise you to get good research in OBG. I keep saying OBGYN in ONG. Let me say it in Nigerian. So that's what is a possibility. Like I've seen records of people that are international medical graduates getting into ONG.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's basically all the questions. I think there's nothing else there anyone else asked.
That's good.
So
I can
final remarks.
I can be free finally.
No, now final remarks, my chief. Okay, any advice, final advice for everybody?
Final advice is decide what you want to do on time and start doing it. That is just the advice I can give. Do you get? Decide what you want to do on time. Because there will be situations where people apply to a particular program, and the program is saying that they cannot give interview because their program requirement is that they want people that graduated 3 years ago or 5 years ago. So the earlier you apply from when you graduated, the better. The best advice I can give, I already gave it in the beginning, which is decide on what to do as early as possible. Start gathering finance as early as possible. These are the 2 things that I can basically say. So that's just general advice.
All right.
So, but at the end of the day, listen, at the end of the day, decide what you want and go for it. If you say it's UK you want, fine. I don't talk people down for going to UK. You want to go to UK. If you say it's US you want, face it. If you say you want to remain in Nigeria, some of my friends are still saying that they just want to stay in Nigeria. It's fine, it's still good. You remain where you want to remain, but decide on time and follow the one you want to do. That's what I tell people. So, yeah.
All right, now thank you, my chief. We appreciate everything you've done for us. Honestly, it's actually a very big thing, and it's taking out like 2-3 hours of your time plus the time I spent disturbing you on the phone. All right. So honestly, I really appreciate it, and we owe you a lot. Honestly. So whenever you land, you can just pay us a visit in school now.
Yeah, when I come back now, you see, most of the people who ask me for the school say they almost come out finish. Even I said only, I don't think I know most people beyond the present final year. Beyond the present final year, I don't think I know most people. But in the final year class, I think I knew like a handful of, like a good number of people. But beyond that set, I'm not so sure anymore. So, but it's all good though. It's all good. If I'm around in Nigeria, I will definitely maybe give you guys 1 or 2 calls to see how it goes. But it's completely fine. Like I have no problem giving these talks. In my own time, I don't think I really got the opportunity to I have like direct contact or people from ESUCOM actually saying this, that. Because we don't really have a lot of people from ESUCOM that have gone the pathway prior to when I wanted to do that. We have like just a few people, maybe 1 or 2 people that were actually practicing in the US from ESUCOM at that point in time. So it wasn't like easy to get a lot of info. People that were giving me info were people that went to schools in the West, mainly like UNILAG, UI. They have a lot of patrons and matrons that are in the US. So it wasn't so easy, but now that a lot of us from ESUCOM, some of us are here now, and then we have some other people. I know at least maybe 4 or 5 people applying this year from ESUCOM, which is nice. So over the years, we're going to have more number of people from ESUCOM practicing here in the US, and also giving other people that are in medical school like advice and helping them, as much as they can.
All thanks to you now.
Yeah, it's all right. It's not thanks to me, it's not thanks to everybody. It's not easy to sit down and read for the exam.
Now your personal effort actually.
Yeah, it's their personal
So,
so anybody that is like the person that asks question that fits step one now. He's on. If I see you and you fit step one, I'll give you respect. I cannot look at you in the same way. Like the guy that asks the question that has written step one, he's an Odugu. So once I see him now, raise hand for you. He has tried. It's not easy. So yeah, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. So yeah.
God bless you, bro.
So, yes. Thank you, guys.
You can start heading off.
Yeah, let me go, man. Let me go at least. The person has already contacted me, sir. So yeah.
Yeah, actually, all those people, I think Dr. Obina he's still on the group chat. You know, Dr. Obina is on here now. You still remember him now?
My chief. My chief.
He's one that give us.
Don't put me in trouble, Don't put me in trouble. Asking me.
He's the one that give us the UK and Saudi talk. He's on the group chat and.
I know, man. So no be today. You start. You won't travel it. No be today. You don't travel since now. No be today. Now my big oga be that too. I beg.
Of course. So his talk is on YouTube. Maybe I'll send you the link privately, so you check it out. It was very informative too.
Oh, that's good.
Anyway,
that's good.
So everybody, thank you for everything. Much appreciated. As I told you guys, this is not a one-time thing. I'm still going to keep on doing it. Next month, next 2 months, we'll have somebody else. All right. So take care, everybody. Bye. Much love. I hope we can start logging off right now. Okay.